looks like we can start the September meeting of the Finance Committee for McLean County. And we have all members present. Woo-hoo, that's a good thing. So we can conduct business. And our item 2 is approval of the meeting minutes. So may I have a motion to approve those meeting minutes? We have Member Friedrich motioned and a second by Member Lehman. Any additions, corrections, discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. The minutes are approved. Are there any appearances by members of the public or county employees?
Chair Metzger, there are not. Thank you.
Very good. We're going to move on to departmental matters, and that's 4A. We don't have any action items for Ms. Anderson, but for A2A is a commissary audit, and that is included, and that's just for information. So I think if you want to come forward, some of us have seen this before, but some of us have not. So if you want to provide us with a little bit of insight and then your overall evaluation on that.
Okay.
Thank
sure.
you.
No problem. This is the second year that I have done this. Historically, it was done by the Department of Corrections themselves, and then they decided to save some funding and not have auditors come in and do it. So they just pushed it back to the county. So then it fell on my desk. So this is the audit. The main takeaways that I'm ensuring is that jail staff are not benefiting financially from the commissary, and they are not. Making sure that the prices charged are fair, and they are, and making sure that it is available on a regular basis to the inmates, and that is. So that is the most basic thing that I'm looking at. I looked at all the expenses, and it's basically just making sure we're not profiting and that we're charging fair rates to the inmates.
Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Anderson? Member Lehman?
Yeah, thank you. So with some of these pieces that you're looking at and judging whether it's in standard or out of standard, is there like a larger, more in-depth report that exists from it, or is this the report in and of itself? Like, is there a detail that goes along and shares any more that is available to committee or to public?
This is the entirety of my audit. This is what DOC needs to see so that we can continue having a commissary. I think what you're asking is more detail, like what they spent the money on. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
Absolutely.
I'm sure the jail staff has something. I got it all. Just due to the nature of it, I would prefer the sheriff's department hand that over, since it's an internal thing that I received. All departments have been very compliant over my 15 years handing over information, but I'm not aware of what their requirements would be for FOIA, but they definitely have all the bank statements. They have all the invoices, everything like that they have in their office. So I did not compile an additional report, but that was all provided to me, and I'm sure they could provide it to any of you as well.
Okay, thank you. It was just a curiosity because you've done a great job of really top lining and giving us a high level overview of what's looked at. And so I was just curious if there were to be a question where we would go to find a more in-depth answer.
Well,
so
it's one of those
thank
things,
you for letting us know.
No problem. Department of Corrections has what they need us to verify that was reviewed and reported, and that's what this is. So that is what I've done. As I think I stated last year, the option DOC first goes with is that you can hire an outside auditor and pay them from the commissary. And so I communicated with some people at DOC that the Sheriff's Department put me in contact with, because I've been able to do Illinois Department of Public Health audits. Heck, I think I was doing them before you even went to the Health Department, Ms. Dreyer. So, and I've done them for IDNR. I've done them for a lot of different state agencies. So I just confirmed with DOC that I would be able to do that because it was kind of one of those things I felt silly farming it out, having someone else paying another agency if I could handle it in-house. So I did. So that is what this is, just to help them and make sure we can keep being legal with Department of Corrections. It's one of those agencies I would rather not mess with.
Member Barnett. Member Lehman, did you have an additional question? Okay.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just had a quick question. I don't know if this is an appropriate question for the auditor, or if this is more of an administration question, but I saw that, so the cash balance on the fund is, about $260,000. So that was at least, at the end of last year. Is that, is that an appropriate balance? Do they actually need that much money to be sitting there? And if not, is there a plan for what that money should be used for? Does that balance normally about that much? I don't necessarily track that myself, so I didn't know if any of you had insight on that.
Administration does not track the commissary fund because that's an independent special fund that is managed by the Sheriff's Department, but I can tell you that it is typical to see a special fund in about this amount to hold that balance. They are quite restricted in what their expenses can be with relationship to the commissary fund. And I would find that would be comparable to like the probation fees fund is very restricted and it maintains a balance of 100 or 200,000.
And the fees that they charge in the commissary for things, those are, and forgive me, I don't remember this. Does the Sheriff's Department set those fees, or does that flow through Justice Committee, or?
I don't know how those
Actually,
fees
I
get
can
set.
answer that, sorry. Keefe is a third-party vendor who supplies that and sets pricing, and they update as necessary. This year, there was a mid-year one, I think, because postage actually changed. Or 2021, there was a mid-year change, I'm sorry. I'm living in last year with the audit. But Keefe sets those.
They set the prices for the individual things in the commissary?
Correct.
Okay.
I have spot checked them for the last 2 years with the audit, and just looking up mostly the food items that would be easily comparable because there are, shoes and, there's a lot of different things. Well, you can't compare shoes to shoes because I'm not sure what brand they are, and I'm sure they're not the brand that, your wife or I would go purchase.
Right.
Just being honest. But a lot of the food, a Butterfinger is a Butterfinger, and ramen noodles are ramen noodles. They charge well below what, when I look up on Walmart or Target or Hy-Vee.
Okay.
When I go in and look, they're charging below that, so.
Okay. All right. Well, that's helpful. I get my main thought, I guess, is if the amount of balance there, to me, it seemed like a lot of money, but it sounds like that might be an appropriate balance for that type of fund to be there. And that's what I wanted clarification on, so thank you.
We've got some squeaky chairs, so maybe a little WD-40 would help. Member Friedrich.
Yes, Ms. Anderson. Typically on an audit report, at the end of it, sometimes or not, they're given areas of improvement, suggestions from you. Do you have any, or all's well?
Correct, all is well. This is not a traditional type audit. The system is such that they put the order in with Keefe, they remove it from the inmate balances, the money all is moved. It's not one where the process is kind of what it is, the DOC states how often they have to have commissary. It's basically, are they compliant with Department of Correction? I don't know if laws is the correct term, mandates, requirements. I'm not exactly sure.
In
See a
your
couple attorneys.
In your opinion, the audit went smooth, staff was cooperative, they gave you everything they wanted?
Yes, sir. very cooperative.
Thank you.
No other questions? Okay, very good. Thank you for what you've done for
Oh,
the
thank you.
county. We appreciate that. I know that it's over and above, so we appreciate that.
Well, at least this year, we knew it was coming. Last year, when the Department of Corrections showed up to the Sheriff's Department, they're like, oh, they didn't tell you that we're not doing that. You have to have that done before we get here. I'm like, okay. Would have been
Okay.
nice if someone would have told somebody, but it is what it is. This year, we knew and we planned ahead, and all is good.
Very good. Thank you so very much.
Thank-
All right, we are going to move on to 4A, 4B, and that is Kathy Michael. She is not here tonight. She has nothing on for action, but she does have her monthly reports. And those are the same reports that we see every month. And if you have specific questions, my suggestion would be to contact Ms. Michael, and she could put you in contact with the individuals on her staff that are responsible for the reporting information. And so that's all we have for 4B. We will move on to 4C, and that is Marshall Thomas and Thompson. I cannot get that. I want to put a P in there, and then I take the P out, and I take the M out. So Thompson. And she has no action items, but she does have her monthly report. If anyone has any questions, but prior to that, why don't we let Marshall share any information she wants regarding animal control.
Well, thank you. Good evening, everyone. There's been a lot of activity with our program. I just want to do a little bit of the highlights. I want to thank Communicable Disease at the Health Department and all of our animal control staff. We've been having a lot of bat activities, so we go out, we pick those bats up, we do our questionnaires. Some of them have to go to the Health Department to be reviewed, and then some get sent down to lab testing for rabies. So far, everything's been really well, and it's been a lot of work, and just wanted to commend everyone for their hard efforts and the joint work that we've done together to protect the community. So Linnell is the one that's been helping the most down there, so we really appreciate all of her help. Bats are starting to slow down a little bit, so we're thankful for that. And I still haven't got my bat signal created. I see down there they're setting up the bat signal.
I think you're being identified, Member Erickson, from last month.
I've got to find a creative logo that
The
will.
bat,
I think that was Friedrich.
okay. Yeah, we had,
Well, it is an important responsibility that we do for the community, and the staff is diligent about it and works really hard. And I just want everyone to know that that service is out there, and if you do have a bat in your home, call your non-emergency police department, and we will call you right away and triage through you what the offers and availabilities are to help rectify that problem right away. And it really is a good health benefit to the community, and it protects lives. And I'm proud to be a part of that portion of our program. Does anybody
so you have
questions about
a
bats?
vendor would come to our home and take it away and then get it to you?
We do that. We
You do
collect
the
it.
whole thing?
So all of our staff members are pre-vaccinated for rabies. The new employees will be getting theirs soon. And so you call us, and then we have a questionnaire that was created jointly between Animal Control and the Health Department. We ask a series of questions about potential exposure, who was in the home, what animals might be within the home if you had contact. Most important, we want to know, did you wake to that bat while you were sleeping, or maybe step on it, or your cat or dog got it? And then that kind of assessment determines the risk level. And then we've had to drive quite a few because there is a time frame that it has to be completed by. So, but we've been able to get everybody there in the appropriate amount of time, and the bats have been negative for rabies, so we're very thankful for that. Not sure what caused the influx of the high numbers in the very short period of time. I'm going to do some research because I'm curious about it, but until I can figure out the anomaly and the reason, we're going to just say it was awful and there was a lot of time investment to protect the community. Not awful to protect the community, but staff was tired. So I was stumbling over my words to say.
285, is that right?
Bats, yep. And some of them aren't even in the system yet because we're still triaging them to get them
Oh,
typed
that's
in.
total, it's 63,
Yeah, you can look at the report there
Yeah,
and see how many of
63.
each species of animals we've done a rabies or a bite or a bat investigation. But I'm gonna guess we probably had like 24 to 30 events in a 72-hour period.
Holy
Some were 2 or 3 at the same time and across town, and so we would just have to triage, you go here, we'll go there. And of course, they're in the middle of the night, because that's when the bat activity is most active, and they were all captured, and if they weren't captured, they were reviewed by CD, and they had a good response from our program, so wanted to give all the staff the credit for that. McLean County Animal Control was invited to go to the pet adoption event at Tractor Supply on this Saturday, the 10th, from 11 to 6, and I can send Julie you the details. We're going to take puppies and kittens out there. It's for their pet adoption day, so we'll have our kennels set up and staff there, and we'll do adoption applications for some, and I think the puppies might be able to go that day. Just depends on if the person's ready and set up and the puppies are all good to go. But so that's super exciting to have that opportunity and to be invited to Tractor Supply. You guys want to come out and hang out too? That'd be fun. Help with puppies, kittens. Oh, darn. Well, I just wanted to extend the offer. So, or if you know people who might be interested, send them our way. And
So you said 11 till
11 to 6.
6,
And
till
we're
6
just-
at night?
Yeah.
Oh,
So we're just real thankful with Tractor Supply because they allow us to have a cat tower there. And we keep a cat in there as frequently as possible. And their staff will meet and greet and talk to people. They're adopted through our program. We provide all the paperwork, the spay neuter, the services. They just facilitate the space. And we're very grateful for the opportunity because it allows customers to go in there and they can get their cat, they can get their cat food, their litter, one-stop shop, and get going home with their pet that they really may not have the opportunity to get to us because it was later in the evening. So it gives us a bigger window of placement. We've placed a lot of cats through there, so very thankful. Anybody have a question about Tractor Supply? I'm hoping Miranda Lambert, who has Mutt Nation, who, I talk about this all the time to all my friends, but she helps support animal controls because she used to work at a shelter before she became famous. And so she created her line and they sell the products at Tractor Supply. So I'm trying to get a shout out to her to tell her that we go there and we're a shelter too. Maybe she'll come visit us someday. That'd be
stop
great.
by on our way.
Yeah, like on a tour bus, maybe go through the Coliseum and stop at Animal Control. So, and then also I wanted to thank all the employees
Separate
for.
these two in the future.
I'm trying to hurry, but there's just a lot
No,
to get out
please.
on the table. Most important, I want to thank the employees for their dedication. We have had a lot of animals at the shelter the last 2 months, and I mean a lot. There's a lot of cats and kittens and puppies and situations that we have to offer assistance through with the police department, and they are just diligently making sure they're all well cared for. And I want you guys to know that without them, it wouldn't be possible, and they're doing a great job. So come out and see all the animals. I mean, it's probably twice as many as when you were out there last time. There's a lot. I don't know what the high number of animals is from. A lot of it I'm speculating is from things changing because the pandemic has kind of lifted a little bit, but I can't prove it. I don't have any opinion other than people who are now falling on harder times. They can't afford food or their living arrangement has changed. And so we're trying to help out in ways that we can. So if we have donated food, we'll pass that along to people to help keep their pet in their home longer. Or if they need help with spay neuters, we have the McLean County Pet Population Control Fund for the spaying and neutering of pets. And going to try to do a vaccination clinic. I have to find a venue and a time and a place, but hopefully to have that done by the end of the year. So you'll be hearing more about that. But if you know of a place or a maybe a business that might want to host us, please let me know. Happy to try to figure that out. But, you know, I think pet food's going up more too in the cost of housing and things like that. So if the community, if you have questions or you have someone who wants to talk about how maybe we can help, just have them call and we'll figure out ways to getting them to other resources or maybe ways that we can help for the community. Does anybody have questions on that one? That's a big, heavy topic, I know, but. Go ahead.
Member Lehman?
Is it okay to ask just general questions?
Yeah, go for
Okay.
it.
So just with follow-up, I know it's been a topic of conversation before, but with the euthanizations, we're approaching 25%. Last year, it looked like it was like 12 to 13% of the outtake. I'm just curious, how are things going? What's the state of everything, and what can we do to
I
lower
would say
that?
that every euthanasia that
Yeah.
had to occur, that
Yeah.
occurred had to occur. It wasn't a euthanasia for space or for, because we have too many animals. It was owner-requested euthanasias, or there was a decision made by the pet owner to do that, or potentially the police department had a vicious or dangerous or a subject to euthanasia. We provide that service through our contract, but unfortunately, that's going to bring up our numbers, but it is a service that we do provide to the community. And I'm also feel very passionately about if an animal is near death, we should not let it suffer. We should provide that irredeemable euthanasia. And we've seen a lot of cats with panleukopenia, upper respiratory virus, and they come in stressed and they're sick from being outside, and then you put them in a enclosure and they're going to be symptomatic themselves and potentially infect other animals. Even if you vaccinate, it's going to take 10 to 14 days to build immunity for that particular animal upon intake. You guys have seen the shelter. You know what struggles that we're going through. Property committee, everyone here, we're moving forward, and I'm really excited to get that process going. But until we can get the animals spaced out a little bit better, then the upper respiratory infections is hard to keep maintained. So the sooner we can move forward with those types of things, I think the better outcomes it will have. But I mean, it's an outcome I can't predict.
Yeah.
And I'm very passionate about it. And I gave you my word a long time ago. I wouldn't do it unless it was truly necessary. And if you guys want to come out and look and see the things that I'm experiencing and how we're handling them, I'd be happy to walk you through that and show you. And I also do a lot of veterinarian consultation, so I'm not just all on my own making those decisions.
Yeah.
I'm consulting, I'm saying, okay, we have this animal, it's not responding to treatment. It's been getting, a 15-day course of medication. It's not getting better. What we often find is those animals have another underlying condition like FIV or feline leukemia or something like that, that it's not going to get better because it has too many things that are wrong. Until our community stops, and I don't mean to lay blame on anyone, we got to stop having outside cats. We have to find a way to put more spay and neuter incentives and to only have the outside cats that we want and not the ones that are just indiscriminately breeding, because a female cat can have 2 to 3 litters a year, 5, 6, 8 kittens, and then now you've just compounded the problem. And I would hope that at some point that I could come back to this committee and offer a spay-neuter program that we could figure out a way to fund either through philanthropic opportunities or through something, we maybe do a research project that says if we put more money here, then there's less money here. But that's something that, we got to get the space, we got to get the building, we got to have the availability to house those animals and offer those services. So when we get what we've talked about and you approve our building, those are the kind of things that I want to bring and talk about as far as community enrichment and saving lives. So I hope that's what you're wanting.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I certainly, I don't envy you the decisions that you've had to make to do things. I certainly was just curious on how things were trending, especially since there had been concern earlier in the year with the disease and like that on the rise.
Yeah, and I've seen, this time, I've seen canine distemper. I've not seen canine distemper in a really long time, and that alarms me. And I've seen 2 dogs who've had it, and they pass from it. They're not gonna, I shouldn't say not, but if you get them to U of I and get them that extensive treatment that they need, but, there's a cost that comes, with that. And so, and even then, the outcome may not be, could be 20%. So you have to look, and then you could infect all the other dogs that you have. So we're looking at inoculations, preventative. We got a lot of cleaning equipment and pressure washers and making sure that our detergent is at the right amount of particulate per water dispensing. So there are things that we're consulting with our veterinarian and community partners on how to prevent as much disease as possible, but it's like kids in daycare, right? Everybody gets sick at the same time. And I'm glad that you asked me these questions because I really want to talk about it, but it's hard to talk about sometimes. So come out and visit me. I'll show you what we got going. But staff, I have to say, is every day they're there 100%, and they deserve all the credit. They're taking really good care of the animals. I'm also asking if the public, please come out and adopt. If you know a licensed rescue agency that would like to transfer animals, we're the first responders picking them up off the streets, but we really need the community support and agencies coming and picking them up, and we'll do everything we can to make those adoptions and transfers possible. And last month, I didn't have the updated reports, but Jake Davis, our administrative specialist, is who fixed that report. So we found the glitch was when a puppy or kitten was born at the shelter, it wasn't getting added into the intake numbers because that category was new and it was added. And so he had to go in and add it to the report. I know it sounds kind of silly, but it was so all the numbers you see now are correct as they are, and that is what we get. What you see is what you get. That was a lot, right? Yeah, go for it. I'm sorry, you're supposed to do that. I'm just
You
taking
go
over.
right ahead.
Yeah, you're fine. You just mentioned that, how many cats do you get in that then end up having kittens? Is that a lot, or?
Yes.
No.
And then we have them for, 8 weeks. So you're caring for them. We would like to say that if there's opportunities for fosters, we'd be happy to do that. If some of the other facilities in town would like to foster them, we can get them into the system and get them, back out to those programs. And we're trying really hard to find creative ways to find those community partners. And today I just had a business contact us, and they wanted to see how they could help. And I was like, well, let's sponsor a pet. Facebook's going really well. We have a photographer that comes out and takes these beautiful pictures, and Angel does phenomenal. And we put them all up in an album, and then we post them and ask people to share. So if you can't take on a new pet, if you could just get the message out, eventually that cat or dog will find its destiny, and just having that pathway is really important. So I had printed off, I wanted to tell you how many we have right currently in the program. So for dogs, we have 62. Now, some of those are in foster, but many of them are at the facility. And for cats, be prepared to be amazed. 111. And some are in foster care, but that's a lot. And so we do currently have quite a few barn and feral cats. We've had thankfully, it's my cat miracle, call and say that they want barn cats. They're having mice problems, the farmers, and they have nice outbuildings and they can care for them appropriately. So we're going to try to process as many as we can for those and bring our numbers down. So next time we talk again, we'll be talking about my cat miracle. So thank you for supporting us. Yes.
Member Erickson.
Thank you. You recall probably as maybe 2014, we had a big discussion on this board about how the animals were euthanized out there. How are they euthanized now?
Well, when needed, it's by injection, and they're sedated and given intravenous.
Okay.
You know, we removed the chamber, so that's not
Yeah,
a,
we had a big fight about that about
Well,
8
not
years
from
ago.
me.
Yeah, not from you, but
No.
there's a lot of resistance in just changing that back in 2014, but we got it done, so.
What we really need is a spay-neuter incentive that anyone can have access to. But that comes down to money, and I don't know how to approach that topic. And if I'm just being honest, I think that's the answer. But getting them before they get to the shelter is the whole key. Because then you don't have to care for them, you don't have to take care of them, you don't have to spay and neuter them, you don't have to find a new home. But that's a generational concept. That's something that will take time until you have the ones who've aged out, you know, the feral cats that are outside. And I'm not against TNR, where I support it where it belongs. But it's going to take time, but we could do that here. This community could change, and we could really do it and show people how it could be done greatly and correctly. And maybe I should propose something and bring it back next time.
We would be happy to engage in that review and that discussion. So if that is to your will and liking, we would be happy to do that. So I do want to tell this committee that I've had 2 situations in my district. Actually, my McLean, my White Oak Township, which is also your district, I get. And then we did have a couple up at Lake Bloomington that were taken care of. And so I would just like to thank you and your staff for taking care of that. And or Vice Chair Thompson, you are correct. It is also your district, and you are well aware of what was going on. So he was not left in the dark. But I just wanted to thank you and your staff for the work that you've been doing.
Thank you. And we do those things for all the districts. So not only with adoptions and rabies prevention, we still have code enforcement and state law and Humane Care for Animals Act and many other things that we take care of. And it's just a great program. You guys, I hope you're as proud as I am, because it's just helped so many people. It's just really an amazing thing we do out there.
I think our state's attorney was involved too a little bit, right?
Yes. He did a great job helping.
So thank you.
Thank you.
On that line too. Any other questions or comments? Very good. Thank you so very much for what you're doing for the county and for our citizens. For D, Tim Jorzak is not here, but I do want to tell you that I have attended 2, and there is one more, I would say a equalization, county assessment equalization meetings have taken place. There was one in Stanford, one up at Lake Bloomington, and there's one at One Normal Plaza on September 12th at 5:30. These are very good presentations to the public to help them understand what this assessment equalization is and how it works, and then also how, if they want to object to their assessment, their tax assessment, procedures for that. And in addition to that, the county clerk has attended, and our county treasurer also attends to provide them some insight on how their tax bills are, how their assessment is reflected on their tax bills. And they have been very good. And as I said, I think Tim has organized those, but we've also had his staff and Kathy Michael's staff, and then Ms. McNeil has attended all of those. So if you can, I would recommend that you attend those. There is one more that has not been scheduled for the city of Bloomington, but I'm sure it's going to be scheduled soon. So that is all we have for 4D. Moving on, speaking of Ms. McNeil, we have 4E, 1A for action, and that's request approval of a resolution authorizing the county board chair to surrender tax certificate of purchase on multiple parcels. And may I have a motion to bring that to the floor? We have Member Barnett and Member Lehman is second on that. And please.
Good evening. Yes, we do have a mobile home parcel where we're actually surrendering the tax sales certificate, and a real estate parcel where we're surrendering the tax sales certificate. And in this particular situation, the trustee has gone all the way to the point of acquiring tax deed. And the property owners have come forward and offered the funds to redeem, basically to redeem outside the redemption period. That's what the surrender is doing. It's giving them an opportunity to maintain their property. Even though, you know, if it were a normal tax buyer, that normal tax buyer would have every right to take title to the property, and that property owner would be forced to move out. So, anyone who has questions about this program, I know we have a new member on the committee this evening joining us, please reach out to me. I'm more than happy to go over the details of the program with you. I think the memo goes through it pretty well. In regards to the program, we just had our annual auction. And that's where, you know, the parcels that we've gone to tax deed on, they then become available for the public to purchase. In most cases, you know, these properties are uninhabitable. They've got things going on with them that don't make them very attractive. However, sometimes the land is very attractive. And so next month I'll be bringing those results forward, so you can take a look at that. We've got some action we've got to take on those items. So.
I guess I was a little surprised that we have a mobile home that's out in the rural area.
Yeah.
It's
It's not really uncommon. I mean, we have mobile homes that
There are some, but I was a little surprised that where that was located.
we have some mobile homes that are on real estate, actual
Yeah.
real estate properties, so, yeah.
Okay, no questions? All in favor of 4E1A, say aye. Opposed? Very good, the motion passes. Moving on to 4E1B, and that is request approval of an emergency appropriation ordinance amending the McLean County fiscal year 2022 combined annual appropriation budget ordinance for the county treasurer. May I have a motion to put that on the floor? We have a motion by Vice Chair Thompson, a second by Member Barnett. And Ms. McNeil, I think you need some furniture. Not
We
really
do.
furniture, kind of,
Some workstations need to be replaced.
yeah,
Now, our
workstations.
the budget of the county treasurer's office is so very, very basic. These are workstations that have been there since I've been in the office. We've done everything we can to maintain them, and there just comes a point in time where they need to be replaced, so.
Any questions? Seeing none. All in favor of 4E1B, say aye. Opposed? Very good, the motion passes. We are moving on to 4E1C, and that is accept and place on file the county treasurer's monthly financial reports, and I think everyone has copies of those. May I have a motion to put that on the floor? We have a motion by Vice Chair Thompson and a second by Member Lehman. And Ms. McNeil.
Thank you. Okay. So, our sources of revenue for our sales tax, our local use, income, personal property replacement tax. For the month of August, our revenue was $1,071,000 compared to $889,000 a year ago. Year to date, 8 months into the year, we have revenue of $12,264,608. And that is compared to the same 8 months of 2021, where we had revenue of $8,769,888. So it's pretty astonishing. The revenue is up $3,494,720 compared to a year ago. And when you look at our budget is calls for $12,112,667. We are already at 101% of budget on accrued revenue in these categories. That means that the remaining 4 months of revenue that we record is going to be in excess of what we anticipated, which is going to be very, very good for McLean County government. Any questions?
I have a question. It has more to do with the state sales tax that we're no longer collecting on some items. Do you have any anticipation that we'll see a change in our numbers because of that?
Okay, so what we have heard is that the state of Illinois is supposed to be replacing the portion that they basically, for example, the sales tax on food. The state of Illinois is supposed to be replacing that for local governments. But it is also going to depend on how the retailer reports that. So, I mean, if the retailer does not report it correctly, it may impact our numbers, and we may have to catch up like the following month when the retailer reports again. But Illinois Department of Revenue did send out an alert just saying that, hey, we anticipate this might happen. If it does happen, the retailer will have an opportunity to correct it, and then, then that will come back to us at a later date. So I haven't heard anything other than that. So what we have heard is that the sales tax, for example, on food, that the governor has decided to defer is going to be made up by other sources to local governments. So local governments are not supposed to take the loss on that. Well, we'll see. So, any other questions? The shared sales tax also is coming in pretty strong. That's the portion that we receive from the town of Normal and city of Bloomington. 8 months into the year, we're at $3,195,000 compared to $2,746,000 a year ago. And so that's $448,000 to the good. The fund equity in that fund is $14.6 million. The property tax revenue, the county budgeted $38.2 million in property tax revenue. We were able to get a distribution out to the taxing districts at the end of August, and that distribution, along with the others, put us at 74.12% distributed. Second installment due date was yesterday, and tax sale is scheduled for early November. We're back on track this year. Hopefully we'll wrap up the final distribution during the month of November. So, and then moving on down into the county motor fuel, the renewal fund continues to provide significant supplemental revenue. The normal regular CMFT is 1.3 million through August. The renewal fund added a little over $1 million to that. On the township side, township motor fuel, 1,175,000. Renewal fund is adding 872,000 to that. So between the two, we have about 4.4 million in motor fuel ton tax. Any questions on that? The next report, the investment report, I finally have good news to share. So happy to be able to show you some rates on here finally that are above 1%, above 2%, even above 3%. So it's been a long time. We haven't seen rates like this for a very, very long time. Rates bottomed out in 20 and 21 due to the situation with the pandemic. As you have probably heard, the Fed has been increasing the federal funds rate. That directly impacts our investment rates. Something that we've been able to do, and I've never in my 22 years of working on the county's investments, never seen short-term treasury rates where they are right now. We can go out and we can invest for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months and get a rate on a U.S. Treasury of up to 3% is astonishing. These treasuries, when you see U.S. Treasury, those alone are going to net us almost $500,000 in interest in the next 12 months. And the ARPA fund, the interest that we earn on those U.S. Treasuries, that goes to the general fund. We don't have to utilize that in the same manner that we have to utilize the other ARPA funds. So that goes to the general fund. So very happy to see the Illinois funds rate be where it is right now. A year ago, the Illinois funds rate was at 0.02. Today, it's at 2.36, 118 times higher than where we were a year ago. So it's very important. I mean, interest on investments, that's where the county makes a significant amount of money, and that helps the general fund fund things like merits and across-the-board increases and things like that. So this is all good news. Very happy to be able to finally bring an investment report to you with real numbers. Overall, we're currently carrying $128.6 million. Any questions on that?
I don't have a question, just a comment. There's a negative side to higher interest rates.
Of course, there is. But
And
my
it's a good thing, and
job,
it's a good thing we have another $500,000 because we're going to need it to pay for the
Yeah.
stuff that's going to cost
Yeah.
twice as much.
yeah, and my job is to,
I deal with that every day.
take a look at that and find ways where we can benefit from that. But of course, you're absolutely correct. The next report is the Blue Cross Blue Shield. This is the county's self-insurance
I had
plan.
another question.
Yes, I'm
Sorry.
sorry. I
Could you
apologize.
address the other investment account, Commerce Bank, with a negative 301,000?
Yeah, I can do that. of
Thank you.
course. Yeah. Okay, so that is the, that's just the payroll clearing account. On August 31st, I can't remember what day that was. I want to say that was a Thursday or a Wednesday or Thursday. But basically what's happened there is that payroll has effectively hit the general ledger, but it has not been released yet. But what's happened is the payroll out has hit the general ledger, and then the payroll in comes in the next day. So, yeah. And we're going to have situations like this where, we've got transactions hitting the general ledger that are going to create negatives and stuff like that. Trust me, it's all good. Everything is fine. We have to hit that payroll number, but at the same time, the deposit's right there. So The county self-insured plan, through the month of August, we have 3.9 million in expenses, compared to a little over 4 million a year ago. Was really happy to see the July and the August numbers both come in lower than a year ago. And I haven't been able to show you this report for I think about 2 months now, because we weren't able to get the numbers from Blue Cross Blue Shield before I had to come in and send the report off for finance. But our self-insured plan seems to be doing very well right now. Like I said, it was good to see the July and the August expenses come in lower than where we were in 2021. We are currently 50,000 lower. We always talk about that stop loss adjustment. It's incredibly important. The stop loss adjustment, column 8, our stop loss insurance basically has allowed us to save about 578,000 on excessive claims. So. Then moving on, the final report is the nursing home. And this report is through the month of July. The nursing home has monthly revenue for the month of July of 702,000 accrued, expenses of 621,000 accrued. Year to date, accrued revenue 4,621,000 compared to 3,917,000 in expenses. The AR balance as of the end of July accrued at 3,956,000. Cash at the end of July, 314,000. And fund balance, I'm not sure how I left that off, but I didn't highlight that apparently. Fund balance, we began the year at 3,552,000. And at the end of July, fund balance is 4,256,000.
We have a question from Member Friedrich.
Yes, sir.
A couple of years ago, nursing home funding, we were really struggling. It's kind of turned itself around. What's happened? I mean, we've got more pays. Can you elaborate?
Well, I mean, obviously, the private pay revenue is coming in very good for the nursing home. The nursing home has been active with their accounts. The nursing home has been, you look at the AR balance, we started out the year at 3.5, we're currently at 3.9, but they've been very active with it. I don't get into a lot of the details of their daily operations. Basically, I see their numbers come in once a month. But, you know, the private pay has been very good. And also, you know, cash was another thing with the nursing home. We're kind of in a position right now where we have to watch cash very carefully. Basically, from payroll to payroll, from AP run to AP run, you know, cash right now is at 314,000 at the end of July. That's low to me. That's scary. It's not good to have an AR balance out there that's not actual, and they've been working on that. So
But it's been better.
I would say that it seems to be stable. But Ms. Taylor, would you like to expand on that?
I think I would give the credit to Mr. Wiley, who is here tonight. His approach in management of the nursing home has been successful in not only retaining staff that helps with expenses for agency costs, but also just his philosophy in the nursing home, I think, has helped with adjusting expenses and encouraging private pay residents. So I give the credit to Mr. Wiley and his team.
Tremendous credit, because if you were to look at the expenses, remember a few years ago when we were, at this point in time, we were seeing expenses that were 800,000, a million, over a million higher than revenue. And we're not at that point. We're kind of steady right now, and that's wonderful. And yes, I agree. Tim has done a wonderful job. Tim has talked with me more as the administrator in the last few years than other administrators have. It's a lot of communication. He's done a wonderful job.
Just a moment, and then we'll get to you. I can say that the Health Committee does look at this, and the other, all of those points made by Ms. McNeil and Ms. Taylor are accurate with our, related to the leadership at that organization. We also are, the hospice program has brought in things. I think we're seeing a higher incident or a higher number of people coming in for physical therapy, and those are paid by Medicare, not Medicaid. And that again, those are private, some of that's private pay versus those Medicaid patients that we have a number of. But the population of, the number of people that are utilizing the facility has increased considerably, and that's a very positive. And I know that the AR stuff was always hanging out there, and that seems to have been resolved. So between both of you, probably it has been helpful. So, and the Health Committee probably has more detail. If you look at the reports that he provides to the Health Committee, you'll be able to see those numbers kind of reflected in the Health Committee's reporting. So, and Vice Chair Thompson.
The accounts receivable, you think that's pretty realistic? You kind of indicate, I mean, obviously you're guessing.
I think it's a work in progress.
But it's
I
not
don't
like
know.
it's.
I'd have to defer to Tim on how actual it is, but I do know that they are, every single month, they're reviewing accounts and sending accounts to us to be adjusted to actual. Yeah.
So it's not like it's 50% or something.
It's a work in progress. I mean, I would have to say that with the limited amount of staff that he has, and what they have to handle on a daily basis, for them to also be going back and reviewing old accounts. We've talked about this, that it probably would take the assistance of a professional agency or an additional staff member to really help them dig into that AR balance on some of those old accounts. Some of it's not going to be recoverable, but it takes time to dig into.
And I would just follow up that he recently, at the last Health Committee meeting, identified a service, and that was approved through the Health Committee to assist him with the AR, the back AR, to go back so many years to see what was recoverable and what was still active.
And I would agree, it's a nightmare. It's doing the same thing over and over again and you get nowhere. So, but thank you.
So we need to vote on 4E1C, and that would be accept and place on file the county treasurer's monthly financial reports. Do you have another question? Oh, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We are going to, anything else that you want to share? I do want to thank you. You all need to know that she has come to all of those meetings that our county assessor has done, and stayed late and talked to our constituents about their tax bills and how that works, and is quite reassuring. And I just want to, again, thank you so much for coming to those meetings. It's been very positive, so thank you for your
You're
time.
welcome. Tim has done a wonderful job. We put together a presentation, a PowerPoint. Tim starts off with his part of it, and then I finish. We talk about extension with the county clerk, and then I finish up with it when it comes to billing, collection, and distribution. Public information and education is key. What we have found is that, our taxpayers, they truly appreciate us going out and speaking with them. Tim and I were both blown away at the level of attendance when we went to Stanford. And when we went to City of Bloomington, Lake Bloomington on a Friday night. But what we want to do is we want to get out and we want to talk about it. And we also want to talk about things like exemptions. I sent out a tax bill. There's an insert out there in there. It talks about exemptions. It says, hey, are you getting all the exemptions you're entitled to? But, a lot of times people will get that envelope and they'll pull out the bill, and that's about all. That's about as far as they go. And so we've really spent a lot of time trying to make people aware of where their taxes go. I have a lot of taxpayers who come into my office. They think that it all stays with the county, and so we, show them, hey, this is where your property taxes go. The county only gets about 1/10 of it. The majority of it goes to the school districts. And we also talk with them, about making sure they understand that this money stays local. It's right here in McLean County. It builds roads. It funds fire protection districts, municipalities, county government, libraries. We have a lot of taxpayers who think that their property taxes go to the state of Illinois or go to the federal government. So it's just spending time with them and helping them understand. Property taxes are very complex, and there's a great deal of disparity, when you look at the state of Illinois compared to other states. So it's just, conversation.
Oh, it's appreciated, so thank you, because that's extra time that you're away from your family.
It's
And
all
Tim
good.
also, so we do appreciate that, this committee especially, so thank you very much. Moving on, we will go to 4F, 1A, and that is position reclassifications, request of building maintenance worker to building mechanic 2 position in facilities management. And I'd like to put that on the floor. May I have a motion? A motion by Member Lehman, a second by Member Friedrich. And Ms. Taylor.
Yes, thank you. So this request was brought to us by Mr. Doherty, the Director of Facilities Maintenance, and this would be to adjust one of his existing positions. So I want to make that clear that this is not a new position that he is requesting. It is just a reclassification of a current position that has remained vacant, to put it to a rate of pay, commensurate with the skills necessary to do the jobs that we're seeing. As you know, we're going to be presenting a budget very soon around the corner, and in that budget there are a lot of facilities projects, a lot of HVAC projects, a lot of internal systems projects that require a level of expertise. And so county administration is in support of this reclassification. We did look at the budget, current 22 budget prior to coming into the meeting tonight, and this would be a budget neutral change for the fiscal year 22. It's a difference of less than $2,000 for the last quarter, and so we would recommend this change.
Any questions? When you have these, and it's not just this one, it is any that we are seeing these classifications, these impacted position lists, is your team going back and then looking about how this is going to impact the salary structure survey that is, I think, near completion? So what is that correlation or that connection between these? Because obviously moving forward, we would not want to have a negative decision being made by this by this committee that then is going to negatively impact the work that's being done by your team.
Yes, thank you for that question. We have, with all of the requests made tonight and the ones that we have been made in 2022, those were calculated and absorbed into the existing algorithm for the compensation study that's being completed. And so those adjustments would be made as we move forward. For instance, with this person, the salary that they are set for that would be changed then in January of 2023, similarly to other staff that are getting adjustments during that time. The compensation study, not to get ahead of myself, but the compensation study will take into effect January 1, and it will look at market rates for positions on a position-by-position basis, but it will also look at a hybrid parity model that will take into effect longevity with the county and longevity in the position. And so that will all be accounted for and calculated in the compensation study plans.
And so it is currently being, as these move forward, they're currently looking at those, is what?
We're adjusting as we go. As they're
Very good.
approved by the board, we adjust as we go.
Okay, very good, thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor of F1A, the position reclassification, say aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to F1B, request approval to add positions to the impacted list. And that would be on page 33, and I believe we saw that in Health Committee, did we not?
Correct.
So I'd like to put that on the floor. May I have a motion? We have a motion by Vice Chairman Thompson and a second by Member Erickson, right? Very good, Member Erickson. That was you. All right. Please, Ms. Taylor.
Thank you. This is for the nursing home. This request includes food services and domestic services for the department. Previously, we've adjusted rates of pay for CNAs and nursing staff. This is for the non-nursing employees at the nursing home. I think that Mr. Wiley has laid out a comprehensive memo there, but I would add that these requests in totality account for less than $30,000 for all the positions that are being accounted for. It came up to approximately $27,273 for the remainder of the fiscal year 22. And again, this is congruent with our expected compensation study recommendation, and so that would be taken into effect as well.
Are there any questions? The only thing I can say is that we're seeing a lot of these, and so I think this is reflected in what your team is doing, and we do appreciate our leadership of these departments, recognizing that there's a need to retain quality employees, and that's difficult to do in these times. So having them come forward, I think we need to, takes a lot of leadership courage to do that, and I guess I would be, I'm thankful that they're willing to come forward and help us understand the challenges that they are facing. So,
If I may say one more thing,
Please.
Chairman Metzger, one of the questions that was posed to administration was why these departments or why these positions? And I would say that my response would be twofold. The first is that we should have done the salary study long ago. And so it is catching up to us. And so these recommendations are coming forward at a time where we have just been holding on and thinking, oh gosh, can we just get to January 1 of 2023 where we can present these to all those that are deserving of these increases, to put those to put them at market rate and to show that we value our employees. However, some of the departments, the two that are presented today, have extreme critical vacancies that are affecting operations. And so that is the consideration that we make when we bring these forward is we look at the numbers and we say, how does this relate to other departments? How does this relate to your operations and the services that you're providing to the community? And if we get to that 25% vacancy rate and it's affecting day-to-day operations, then we have to bring it forward to you and let you help us make those policy decisions.
All right. I believe we voted on that, right? Nope. We have not voted on that one. Okay. Thank you. All in favor of F1B, say aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. Moving on, we have another F1C, and that's request approval of administrative salary adjustments in the office of the the circuit clerk. And may I have a motion to put that on the floor? We have a motion by Member Friedrich and a second by Member Lehman. And Ms. Taylor.
Similarly, well, first of all, I'll just say that Mr. Don Everhart would have been here if it was at all possible, but he could not make it this evening due to a conflict. So this request is for his adjustments to the Office of the Circuit Clerk. I know we have heard in the Justice Committee several times the need for filling of his vacancies and the issue with retention. So as soon as he has someone who is selected and is trained, he seems to have a revolving door with certain positions which are reflected in a 20% vacancy rate in his department. I've heard from trial court administrator, I've heard from judges, I've heard from attorneys that it is impacting operations in the circuit clerk's office. And so he brings this request to you ahead of the January 1 date for the salary study. It is also budget neutral within his 2022 budget due to the number of vacancies that he's had. So.
Any questions or comments? Member Friedrich.
We implemented a sweeping computerization within that department over there, or in all of the court system, correct? And will that be of benefit to them?
So that is in development. So the Aegis system upgrade that we are completing, we did contract with a company to complete the CMS portion, which would impact the circuit clerk's office. That is still in development and has not taken effect yet. It's about a 5-year process to get all of those integrations and systems to work together. And so that's like building, it's like building a building.
Yeah.
So we have the foundation and we have the contractors selected, but we don't
that
have the
won't
building
help.
built yet.
Okay.
So it will help eventually, but it will not help currently.
Member Lehman.
So in regard to the adjustments and the updates that we're doing for the departments and the salaries and looking at the salary study, does the salary study come with anything in place to make sure that we're not in this grave position again? Is there any part of what we're looking forward to for the future that has certain hallmarks in it that we look at and evaluate salaries at certain tenure points?
I would have to go back and look at the proposal, but I do appreciate that question because that is something that I will go back and ask Evergreen Solutions. I'm sure that they have recommendations in the short term. My my thought is that they would probably love to contract with us again in 10 years. And so I'm guessing that will be their response for a longer term adjustment. But I do think that they're going to make recommendations in the short term.
I can tell you, large organizations conduct salary surveys on a yearly basis. We have not been able to do that. Now, these are large organizations that have staff to do it, so we don't have the staff and hadn't. And priorities, as Member Erickson will tell you over and over again, priorities were not at the time that a number of years ago when it was recognized we were having some challenges. The priorities were on other things like building jails and doing mental health. And I think Member Burnett will also say that his committee has been challenged also because the priorities were set in other places, and public monies are limited, and so hopefully it won't. If it's up to any, if I have any influence, I think 10 years is a little long to be. So very good question, and I think we need to continue to look at that. And Member Burnett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If we weren't in a position to be able to do a salary study every year or every 5 years, I mean, couldn't the county put a policy in place that would say something like, non-union employees are automatically given cost of living increases at the average rate of all of our union contracts for that given year? Wouldn't it be possible to put a policy in place like that to guarantee that salaries are continuing to rise every year at a certain rate?
That is something we can consider in the future. It is absolutely possible to make policy adjustments
It
to
just
those
costs money.
budget. It just costs money.
Okay, all right.
And I think you're well aware that there was a large organization in this community who stopped that about 10 years ago. More than 10 years ago, probably 15 years or more. So not that we shouldn't do a better job. Lesson learned, but I'm not sure that's the only option that we have, but that is certainly a consideration. Do you have a comment to make, Mr. Vice Chair?
I just think it's important to note that we live in a community that we're fortunate to have employers that keep us on running towards higher levels, right? I mean, I don't know this for a fact, but you could probably go to Macon County, and there was a time in their history where they probably didn't have that problem, and that was probably not a very good time for them. Also, as a public entity, we're not the ones that are setting the salaries, and so I'm not sure doing it every year would be a prudent activity, but certainly I think it's important to note that it's been beneficial to have the employers we have in this community to do the things they're doing, but it does pose the problem for us to keep up, and how you best deal with that is always a challenge. But that's a good challenge rather than having the other side of that problem.
Member Erickson.
Yeah, everybody has priorities, and the Justice Committee hears the priorities of the State's Attorney's Office, and they're short-staffed, and the Public Defenders is short-staffed, and the Sheriff's Department loses people to other counties and to the state because they're having to compete. So there's a lot of priorities to go around. So I just think everybody should know that I mean, they can't even get people to pass the bar exam right now, so I don't know what's going on there, but so the state's attorney has its problems, and so everybody's got there's always priorities that have to be balanced out.
Any other comments before we vote on Don Everhart's request? All right, we will vote on F1C. That's the approval of the administrative salary adjustment for the circuit clerk. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Very good, the motion passes. F2A, anything, any other things that you need to present to us, Ms. Taylor?
I have no other items for information.
All right, we do have F2B, and that's closed session pursuant to 5 ILCS 102/2C11, and that's pending litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of a particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when a public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which the case, the basis of the finding shall be recorded and entered into the minutes of a closed meeting. May I have a motion to move into closed session to discuss litigation? We have a motion by Member Barnett and a second by Vice Chair Thompson. We need to shut off all of our microphones, and thank you for attending our meeting this afternoon. I think business for all of you has been complete, so thank you. resume the Finance Committee meeting, so we're out of closed session, and we have to pay bills. And we have bills that were reviewed by the auditor to the tune of $1,125,796.30. May I have a motion to pay the bills? Motion by Member Lehman, second by Member Erickson. All in favor to pay the bills, say aye. And that motion passes. No other business, so we are adjourned.